Hello again. Um, it's a pleasure to be back electronically and particularly to talk with you now about our age-friendly environments program, which we have here at the World Health Organization, and to welcome a large number of municipalities from the Republic of Bashkortostan to the WHO Global Network of Age-Friendly Cities. When I spoke to you before, I emphasized how quickly the world is aging and that this is no different for Russia. That by 2050 a very large proportion of the Russian population will be over the age of 60. Now, we often talk about this as if it was a problem, but at WHO what we want to do is make sure that the resource that is inherent in older people becomes available and freed up for society, for communities, for families. But that's not going to happen by itself, and there's a number of things we need to do to make those changes occur. Crucially, the places that do that, the places which create environments that better support older people and allow them to remain engaged better, will have a competitive advantage over the places that don't. So that a city that can draw on the resource that is present in its older populations, or a country that can draw on that resource, will have an advantage over a similar country that doesn't take these sorts of actions. So we talked before about some of the things which we might be able to do. The first is every older person needs some sort of financial security to enable them to live comfortably. We also need to make sure that we promote health across the life course, encouraging people not to smoke, to drink responsibly, to remain physically active and to eat well. We need to provide basic primary health care, for example, screening for high blood pressure and providing antihypertensive treatments. But we also need to provide long-term care and palliative care for people at the end of life. But what I want to talk with you now about is creating age-friendly environments, because the environment in which an older person lives is also a crucial determinant of whether they can continue to participate in society. So what is an age-friendly environment? Well, first of all, it's an environment which fosters health itself in older age. So it's one where an older person can remain physically active, where they can access healthy food, where they don't have to be exposed to other people's smoking. Those sorts of things which also supports the engagement of older people, that allows them to continue to participate in society. It allows them to continue to play a role with their families and even to be part of the formal workforce. And that is regardless of the level of function they may have and regardless of their age. A number of years ago, WHO had a project which involved 32 communities from around the world, including one from Bashkortostan, Tuzhmazi. Excuse my pronunciation. And that project identified 8 domains of city living, which we might look at if we wanted to create a more age-friendly environment. So it identified outdoor spaces and buildings, whether people have access to public buildings, or do they have to walk up a long flight of stairs, or do they have a park nearby where they can relax and recover after the stresses of daily life? Do they have transportation to get to the places where they want to go, and is that transportation accessible for everyone regardless of their level of function? Are there ways for them to remain connected to other people within that community and to learn about the things that are happening? Do they have a house that's appropriate for someone of their age? And does society as a whole respect them as an older person, or does it tend to marginalise them and look down on them? Are there ways for them to participate in the sorts of things which they want to participate in? And is there a way for them to influence the decisions that are made about them? And finally, is there access for basic community care and for basic primary health care? So we've now moved from that project to establishing a global network of cities which are interested in pursuing these sorts of goals. How can they become better in each of those domains? We call it a top meets bottom approach because it involves older people from the bottom contributing with their ideas and their enthusiasm and their energy, but it also requires the top. It requires the municipality itself to participate and to seriously take on these issues and commit to becoming more age-friendly. We don't set a standard because we have countries in Africa, countries in Europe, countries all around the world, and it's impossible for us to set a common standard in all those places. But what we require is a commitment on the part of municipalities to become more age-friendly. And to do that, we have had a number of national programs which have now become affiliated with us. We have national programs in Canada, Quebec, Spain, Ireland, Portugal, France, Slovenia, and today I'd like to welcome Bashkortostan to that community. Together, those national or provincial programs represent hundreds of communities, perhaps 500 communities at the moment. And we're talking with other countries about having similar programs. We're talking with the United States and we're talking with China. So we're very hopeful that soon the number of cities... So I would like today to specifically welcome the municipalities of Bashkortostan. I will read them, and again, please excuse my pronunciation, but I'd like to welcome the municipal districts of Ufa, Agedel, Kumurtau, Neftekamsk, Otyabrsky. My wife is from Eastern Europe, and she would be horrified at my pronunciation. Salavat, Stolitamat, Sivai, Blagoveshensk, and the municipalities of Baimak, Beleby, Beloretsk, Birsk, Davlekanovo, Dyertuli, Ishimbay, Uchali, Chishme, Yanol, and the municipal regions of Melutz and Tuimatsi, which again was one of the original participants in our Age-Friendly Cities program. So I thought I'd give you a few ideas about what might be happening in other places that might inspire these municipalities and other municipalities in the Russian Federation to become more age-friendly. I thought I'd talk about New York and the program they have there, which their mayor, Michael Bloomberg, says it's not just an age-friendly city, because an age-friendly city is a city for all ages. I thought I'd give you a few simple examples because, first of all, becoming more age-friendly doesn't necessarily require a lot of resources. It just requires people to think a bit differently, to look around them and look at the opportunities for involving older people and to think how it might be done in a different way. So one of the things that New York found was they pay for school buses to take children to school in the morning and to pick them up in the afternoon. But they need to pay for the bus for the whole day and the bus driver. And what they suddenly realized was there was a resource there that could be used by other people. And so now they're looking at how they can use those buses, the school buses, to take older people places in the middle of the day. And interestingly, I was in Australia recently, and a very small community of 1,000 people in remote Australia were using a very similar approach to transport older people using school buses to resources that they didn't have in their municipality. So they didn't have a swimming pool, but it meant that they could take older people to a swimming pool for physical activity in a neighbouring municipality. Another thing in New York businesses got together, they came up with the idea of an age-friendly business. And a sticker goes in the window of an age-friendly business, so an older person walking by can look at it and think, well, I'll be welcomed if I go in there. People will treat me with respect. There'll be good lighting. There'll be somewhere for me to sit. And above all, there might be a toilet I can use, because older people repeatedly say one of the things that limits them going out is access to toilets. But municipalities don't want to spend a lot of money building new toilets. But businesses often already have these. This becomes a win-win for everybody. It provides a resource to older people. It doesn't cost business anything. It doesn't cost government anything. And yet it means the business gets an extra person coming in the door, somebody who may buy some of their products. A much bigger part of the New York Age-Friendly Cities program is something called Safe Streets for Seniors. Now, this did cost some money. What they did was they looked around New York and they identified the areas where there were the highest numbers of motor accidents involving older people. And this is a map of an area in the south of Manhattan in New York City. And you'll see it's quite a large area involving a lot of people because New York is obviously a very dense place. And so this was an area they identified where they needed to include in the project. They had 25 areas like this. And in each of them they went in and they looked at how could we make this a safer community. In this area, one of the things they first identified was traffic crossing speeds. So when an older person goes to cross the road at a traffic light, if they are not very mobile, they need a little bit longer than somebody else to cross the same road. That requires you to slow down the traffic crossing speed, to change the traffic lights so there's a little bit more time. They did this. And if you do it in one traffic crossing in New York City, you have to change almost every traffic crossing in New York City because they're all connected by computer. So it was quite a major undertaking. But again, it didn't cost anything, but it created a more age-friendly environment. Here's another example of something they did. And you'll see here, this is a rather strange intersection in Chinatown. And you'll see down the bottom that there's a road that sort of goes to the left and then there's an island in the middle and some people are coming across from one side. And it's rather unsafe, but it's also painted the road a different colour. So it wasn't a major engineering works, but it's one that's completely restructured the way this intersection and this pedestrian area operates. They did this in 25 communities around New York. At a much more simple level, another thing that older people often say that limits them going outside their home is they need somewhere to sit. They can't walk for a long period without somewhere to sit, to rest. In Geneva, they identified this as a significant issue, and so they set themselves a target. They said we should create 165 new benches over a 2-year period, and then they monitored how they progressed. And in fact, over that same 2 years, they put in place 232. So they did better than their goal. Again, not something that costs a lot of money, but something that makes a big difference for older people. So, where does all this leave the global network of age-friendly cities and Bashkortostan, or hopefully other places in the Russian Federation which might want to participate? Well, first of all, we recently had a global conference in Dublin, and you can go to the Dublin conference on the web, and you'll see a number of the presentations which were given, and you'll see how dynamic and enthusiastic the speakers were, and there's a lot of interesting little tips that any municipality can benefit from. But we are ourselves about to create a much more encompassing portal, an e-portal where people can go, where they can access information on the latest tips, where they can connect to other cities which are doing the same thing, where they can join different communities that might have similar interests. And we're looking also at providing training in different places around the world for cities which are interested in moving this forward. We hope that there'll be more conferences in the future. And we also hope that we'll be able to establish some what we call communities of practice, where different municipalities that, for example, all speak the same language, or where they have a particular interest in public transport, or where their interest is more about involving businesses, where they can connect from around the world and learn what different cities are doing and try to continually improve, so that we can make not just those cities themselves, but the whole world a more age-friendly planet. So thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today. I'm very sorry that I couldn't be there in person. I hope that whoever has been translating for me has been able to keep up and understand my Australian accent. And again, I'd like to welcome all those municipalities from Bashkortostan to the WHO Global Network of Age-Friendly Cities. And I'd encourage other municipalities to become involved and help us in our goal towards an age-friendly planet.